Okay, just got back from F9, the Fast Saga. I got to get this out of the way first and foremost. Pre-movie voiding of the bladder before buying refreshments is a must because I, good God, I sat through an hour and a half of a movie having to pee like you just wouldn't know. What makes it worse is the fact that I didn't want to get up and leave to go and pee because I didn't want to miss a thing. Yeah, that was rough. That was all the rough. I tried not focusing on it and being very analytical of the movie. As this is my very first ever movie review, I'm gonna tell you, it'll be like the streams. It'll get better. It's got to. Basically, I'll give you the cliff notes. It starts out in a way that you get confused initially. I did. I was like, wait a minute, because they didn't put a date to it. It just boom, it goes right in on this helmet, and it says Toretto, and you're like, oh, okay, cool. But then as the scenes play out, then you start to realize, oh, this is a flashback. The flashbacks were very good. Me personally, I don't I don't have a problem with the actors that they got to portray the younger versions of Dom and his brother. I felt like they did fine. It did give the good thing about the flashbacks. This is for the. I honestly feel like this movie was for the OG fans of the franchise, like from way back in the day, from the first one all the way up. I mean, there was a nice, love letter to the fans from the first one in this one. It's very nice. I honestly enjoyed it personally. We will get to some of the more outlandish stuff that happened because it was as outlandish can be, guys. I'm telling you, there was some stuff in there that even I was like, oh, that's bull, straight bull. But overall, the flashbacks were well warranted. It for spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the first one by now, man, I can't help you. I'm sorry. Good luck. Go buy them and just watch them. I've seen every one of them, own every one of them. I will be buying this one. I'll explain my reason for buying it at the end of this video. But the fun part is, I moved you, didn't I? Somehow, some way, yeah. I moved the camera. And whatever. It's whatever. I don't care anymore. Yeah. This is all in one take, so we're just gonna let her rip. Basically, it goes all the way back to the very first film, where Dom was telling Brian about the reason he went to prison the first go round for killing the guy. It does give that backstory, which not necessarily long overdue, but it does tie into the plot, which I thought was great. I thought it was absolutely as spectacular as could be as far as, giving the backstory. It's like, oh, because there was a couple of twists where you're like, oh, snap. So Dom took, no, he didn't. I thought that. I was like, wow. I was very engaged in the movie. It did not lose my interest. It held me all the way through. the scenes with Dom and or Vin Diesel and John Cena, I thought they were good. Some people don't like John Cena as an actor. Me, I feel like John Cena has a place, and I feel like this character that he portrayed in this film, I felt like it was amazing. I felt like it was perfect. And what I loved even more was the fact that you could clearly in this film you could clearly see the breakaway from his time in WWE, where The Rock, almost every movie The Rock's in, somebody's catching a rock bottom. It happens without fail. I'm not taking getting nothing away from The Rock. He is The Rock. He is who he is. But John Cena didn't put any of his WWE stuff into the fight sequences between he and Vin Diesel, which I was happy about. It was very, very refreshing to see John Cena as the bad guy for the most part. I mean, it was very refreshing, because when you look at a movie like this, it's, John Cena versus Vin Diesel, and you're saying, okay, good guy versus bad guy. Dom's good guy, John Cena's bad guy. But it's really more than that. It's a lot more involved, because as with every situation in life, this person is the good guy in their eyes, but yet this person's the good guy in their eyes. So technically both guys are right for different reasons. The whole, you've seen the trailers, I'm guessing, but the Han part, that was, everybody knew it was coming. Me personally, I was like, okay, as a fan, I wish that it would have been done differently as far as the trailers were concerned, where it's like all of a sudden out of left field, boom, Han shows up, where it just catches the moviegoer off guard. I feel like they could have included, and I think they did in one of the trailers, they could have included Lucas Black, which he's not just in, a couple of scenes. He actually does come back into it. He doesn't play a major role, but he does play a role. That was cool as far as Han, and how they actually gave validity and backstory to what happened with in the part of Tokyo Drift, which was kind of sort of half-baked retconned by Furious 6. I mean, it was really the ending of Furious 6. They retconned it, which I thought was cool. And then they retconned it again, which was the way to explain it. And it didn't really change much. It just explained the actual situation. Like, the parts of it that we didn't see through Tokyo Drift or through that cut scene, the mid-credit scene in Furious 6, it did give some explanation there. So I was very happy with that. Was it a BS explanation? You watch the film, you decide. I thought it was fine, personally. I was okay with it. I was satisfied with the fact that they at least addressed the elephant in the room, much like they did with Michelle Rodriguez when they brought Letty back in F6. Basically, I'm now just gonna speak about various parts of the movie. I'll try to keep them in chronological order as best I can. The first time the entire team shows up, boy, I tell you what, they couldn't have got anybody else to do the very beginning of that scene other than Tyrese. Tyrese earned his paycheck on that one scene in my book. He really did. They hear a vehicle coming, they being Dom and Letty, and they're with their child Brian. They hear a vehicle coming, and the vehicle they hear coming, they tell Brian to hide. They grab guns. They've kind of more or less gone off the grid. They don't have cell phones. They're out of touch with the whole world. Ain't neither one of them apparently got a Facebook or nothing. And Dom steps out of the barn with his 12 gauge. Nice looking 12 gauge. I like that. That's a pretty gun. He sits there and he steps out and he racks him one, and all of a sudden Tyrese, he gets out of the car, and it's like it was that scene in itself. I'm not even gonna try to justify it. I don't even remember what Tyrese said, but that scene was funny as I don't know what to me. There's another couple funny scenes involving Tyrese and Ludacris, which, I mean, it's Tyrese and Ludacris. They're comedy gold apparently in the Fast franchise. Um, the excuse me, Cipher does come back into play, uh, which it's yeah, it's gonna be kind of interesting to see where they go with it, because without trying to spoil too much, right now at least, um, yeah, she will be coming back into play, I would imagine, because she did not die at the end of this film. Um, she starts out as a prisoner, and I'll leave the rest of that until spoilers. The the dynamic hadn't really changed with the group. If anything, they added more people to it, which I honestly didn't. I didn't think it was possible, but I kind of secretively wanted them to bring in some, if not all, of the Tokyo Drift crowd, just because it is a Fast and Furious movie. People, for whatever reason, people don't like that movie. Whether it's Lucas Black, whether it's whatever, whether it's just a drifting, I don't know. But me personally, I enjoyed Tokyo Drift. Like I said, I've seen them. If I had to choose, like, the ones I could rewatch would be the first one, the third one, the fifth one, the sixth one. The seventh one just depends on the day, only because Paul Walker didn't get to finish filming the entire film. They got his brother to do some stand-in and whatnot. And the eighth one to me was like, okay, we've walked off the map. We're now in the woods, and we have no idea where we are. I honestly did not care for the eighth one as much. Don't get me wrong, I'll watch them all, but I just those are the ones that I would watch. Not necessarily in any particular order, but those are the ones that I could enjoy watching. With Kurt Russell being in it, that was kind of a surprise. He wasn't in it per se. He was in it via a computer screen. As a matter of fact, I didn't leave the theater, but I don't recall seeing Kurt Russell at all throughout the rest of the film. So I look at it in a Hollywood movie trope of, if you don't see a body, the character's not dead. So I would take it that Kurt Russell is able to come back. There are a couple of turns that happen, which I thought was pretty cool. Just they were unexpected. I mean, granted, some of it you could see from a mile away. You're like, yep, that's getting ready to happen. It's like you can prepare yourself for certain parts, just if you're a fan of action films. I think I'm gonna go ahead, and because a lot of the stuff I want to talk about is spoiler related, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and just give it a rating. I'm gonna do different than other YouTubers do, though. See, YouTubers, they're gonna give it the 1 to 10 rating. That's fine. I'm good with that. I'm gonna end up doing the 1 to 10 rating. But the thing is, I'm gonna give it 2 different classifications of ratings. Okay, so we're gonna have these 2 ratings where one rating is gonna be just my experience as a moviegoer, and then the other rating is going to be more of the critical analysis of the actual film. And I will explain both when I give them. So for my experience as a moviegoer, I'm gonna have to rate it at an 8. It honestly was not the best film I've ever seen. Yeah, it's been forever and a day. It feels like matter of fact, I was talking with one of my coworkers today. The last movie I went to theaters and saw was Frozen 2. That was the last movie I saw in theaters, and that was when it came out back in 2019. So yeah, an 8 is where we're at on the average experience as a moviegoer. It didn't really. I mean, it was good. It was really good, but it wasn't like it wasn't something to where like it didn't overwhelm me to the point where I've been overwhelmed by movies. Like, holy cow, I really feel like I got to watch this again. The pacing, in my opinion, of it as a moviegoer, I thought the pacing was fine. That's why it's getting an 8, because it did rank pretty high. I was anticipating it a little bit, and it was a chance to go to the movies again, which everybody say what you want. I don't really care. You know, me personally, I love going to the movies. There's nothing better than that experience. And yes, I went by myself, but if you've got a group of people to go with, if you got a group of friends that you can go with and actually have fun, then you're gonna enjoy this. You're gonna be able to get in the car and on the drive home or wherever you're going, you're gonna be able to talk about it. You're gonna be able to converse and dissect the film from various people's perspectives. As a matter of fact, if Tech was in here with me, he would have his opinion of what he thought. So, you know, maybe one of these days, he's an hour and a half away from me. Maybe I can get him to go see a movie, and we can go see a movie at the same time, and then catch up, get on Discord, and then we can film it and throw it out to you guys. Maybe. No guarantees. As far as the critical side of it, fitting it into the story, I'm gonna have to rank it at I want to say 6, but I'm leaning towards 7. I got to go with a 7 out of 10. Mainly because the thing that bumped it to the 7 for me was there was a couple of scenes, one major scene that really just it's part of me is saying it's the love letter to the fans. That to me is what I saw, and that's why I said what I said with regards to the actual way it all played out. Honestly, there was a scene in there where a little bit of spoilery stuff, but it's not so big. It does kind of lend itself to why John Cena's character Jacob, why he basically is doing what he's doing. But it's a scene where Dom and Jacob drag race, and Jacob was like the Dominic back in the day, right? When Dom got out of prison, he shows up. Jacob's like the baby Dom right there, just, you know, doing his thing, running the streets. You know, he is King Kong, and, you know, yeah, he sit there and they had their drag race, and basically, if Jacob won, then come on home. If he lost, then, you know, just keep driving. Well, what was really cool about that scene, and what kind of pushed it up a little bit for me, was during the drag race, it was, if you remember the first one, it was honestly the same as when Brian and Dom raced in the first Fast and Furious movie. Brian hit all that nos. He was, yeah, I'm out on him, yeah. And then all of a sudden, boom, just car started getting squirrely. He got a little sideways. Dom actually said the word too soon, just like he did in the first one. I was like, yep, nice throwback. So that was cool to me. And that's why it's getting a 7 out of 10. So there it is. I honestly, I enjoyed it. If you like action movies, if you're not necessarily a Fast and Furious fan, it's a good action movie to watch, because there's plenty of action in it. There's a few explosions, but, you know, all in all, I felt like it was I felt like it was worth the wait to see it, and I'm glad that it was held off as long as it was so we could see it in theaters. If you like the video, don't forget, like, share, subscribe, leave a comment on it. Tell me what you thought. If you disagree with my opinion, we can talk about this. I would love to engage with everybody. So, hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Continue on to the spoilers if you want to see that. Alright, here in the spoilers part of it, okay, here we go. I'm just going to shotgun them out to you. The beginning of it shows the race where Dom's dad died. And then it goes on into showing Brian, or Dom and Letty and Brian at their little ranch thing they got going on. Their little shanty where the rest of the group shows up. They talk about Mr. Nobody because he sent them a message. Nobody else got this message but them. And that was the reason they showed up. You know, Tyrese was Tyrese in that one. He saying his funny bits, you know, which actually made me laugh out loud. And I didn't care. I thought it was funny. And, you know, then you move on into, all right, so now they're going to track down Mr. Nobody. Well, Dom, he's like, nah, Brian and Mia, they left the life when they had their child. And Letty's like, you know, we got to go. And then it shows Dom sitting out there on his Charger, and he's looking over the footage that Mr. Nobody had sent. And all of a sudden he, you know, zoom and enhance cliche, if you will, zooms in and sees the necklace. And apparently there was 2 of those necklaces. One belonged to Dom, which he gave to Letty, and then one belonged to Jacob, played by John Cena. So then that's when Letty had already taken off. She got on a motorcycle. She's like, no, I'm going to go help. You know, this is what we do. And then when Dom sees the necklace, all of a sudden, cut to the airstrip. Plane's fixing to take off. Dom comes rolling up hot and heavy in his mess. And he, surprisingly, I honestly felt like he would have gave them the inside track on what was going on and why he showed up, but he didn't. It really kind of surprised me because I honestly thought that from a script point of view that would have made a little bit of a connection with the rest of the team as to why he showed up out of left field when Letty said, yeah, he ain't coming. It then proceeds to go on where they basically invade a small country. Everybody else, Letty's on a dirt bike, Dom's in a Charger. Tej and what's her name? Golly, Ramsey. She's back in this one. Tej and Ramsey, they're in this Jeep pickup. And then you've got Roman, who Tej is picking on for overcompensating, driving basically a tank. I mean, you call it what you call it. It's a tank. And I'm not saying he was overcompensating. I'm just saying Roman was scared. Then, you know, they get to the wreckage of Mr. Nobody's plane. And it's just, you know, it's plain old wreckage. And then they end up, Ramsey has to hack something to make her useful to the group. Everybody else is kind of standing guard with guns. It was what it was there. You know, there were some low points. I mean, it cuts to John Cena, and he's kind of at his little bunker, so to speak. Apparently, you find out he has a benefactor. He betrayed Mr. Nobody, who had actually captured Cypher. That's why the plane was crashed. So, again, we don't know if Mr. Nobody's still alive or not. But, you know, we do know that the plane was crashed again. No body, so what are you going to do? They end up being able to find a piece of a component that Mr. Nobody had on his plane, which is what John Cena and company were after in the first place. And then it obviously shows Cypher in a cage, basically in a cell. and they had captured her from Mr. Nobody. Well, she went from being one person's prisoner to another, because even though John Cena's character was quote unquote bad and betrayed Mr. Nobody, you know, he still kept her caged up because he knew what she is capable of. The one of the more interesting scenes to me was when it involved the magnets, and the magnets were cool. I will give them that. The effects were nice. But the one thing I will say is when they flipped that tandem trailered semi, when they flipped that, I can't wait to get the Blu-ray to see if that was a practical effect or if it was CGI. Mainly because I'm ignorant when it comes to the ways of certain things, and I'd like to know. Because if that was an actual CGI deal, then Dark Knight Rises still has it, because that semi flip was practical. That was a real flip. There was no shady shenanigans going on with that flip. That was a real stunt that was pulled off by the crowd that did Dark Knight. I gotta admit, seeing Lucas Black in there, and they're so far removed from Tokyo. It's like, I would love. They're doing all these Hobbs and Shaws and everything else. I would actually love to see them do a side story that shows why they left Tokyo and why he quit drifting. He put all that time and energy into drifting, became the new Drift King and everything like that. And then it's like all of a sudden they left that. Obviously, Twinkie's in it from Tokyo Drift. Bow Wow aged. He got old. The other guy who was there, kind of like their techie guy, he was there hanging out with them as well. I would love to know how he went from drifting to working on rocket engines. I mean, it does not seem like a natural progression for me. Honestly, it was what it was. With that, and then to the whole thing with Han and how he survived was basically surprise, Mr. Nobody. I said something in the earlier part of the video, and I will correct myself here. He actually is in the video, but he actually is in the movie, but it is in a flashback, and it's of Han. So basically, the whole car exploding with Shaw and everything like that. That was basically a big old magic trick pulled off by Mr. Nobody. That's how that worked out. That's a surprise. You know, you kind of saw it coming. I was like, well, why am I not surprised by this? I think probably the weirdest thing, as if going from drifting to rocketry it's not a natural segue. I can't even say it with a straight face. I'm sorry, I can't. But it gets even better, because then, you know, near the climax of the film, you see Lucas Black flying a plane. It's like, I'm not asking for, you know, the footage of him going to flight school. I'm just saying they're not even in Tokyo anymore. So help me out just a bit. I mean, I can piece this stuff together in my head. I'm pretty intelligent. I would just like the backstory on that. I think that would be kind of an interesting thing. I don't want to read about it in a book, so don't even suggest, well, maybe there's a book. I don't care about that. The books matter when it's pulled from source material, but this is Fast and Furious. There is no source material. And speaking of no source material, they strapped friggin' rocket engines to a Pontiac Fiero. The look on Tej's face during that scene was just like he just could not believe, like, you couldn't find nothing else to put rocket engines on except a raggedy Pontiac Fiero. Oh man, I tell you what, that was something else. It really was. I will say that the whole movie, I mean, the whole movie has got its high points, its low points. The fact that Mia shows up and says that all the children are with Brian, I know they have to have an excuse. I know they do, and I know Vin Diesel, as long as he has any sway with this franchise, I know that they're never ever gonna kill Brian off, and I'm okay with that. But my God, why don't you just say that Brian's working and the kids are with his sister? You know, I mean, she can be brought in on the loop. I mean, or they're with a friend, something. You know, I just the fact that they left him with Brian, that was the excuse they gave for Brian not showing up. Which, you know, I mean, come on. The world knows that Paul Walker died. You know, rest in peace, man. But come on, guys, you got to do better than this. You really do. I guess the the next kind of spoilery thing is, and you see it in the trailer for the movie. You see Tej using duct tape, but what you don't see, at least I don't recall seeing it. Now, if it's there, then somebody please correct me in the comments below. But what you don't see is you don't see them putting on the helmets that they wear when they're going into space. I actually said out loud, are they going into space or are they going scuba diving? I mean, because the helmets they put on are deep sea diving helmets. Straight up, no lies, deep sea diving helmets. And I'm like, are you kidding me? It was like the most outlandish mess I think I've seen ever in the history of the world. Obviously, Jacob, Jacob and Dom, they've had their several go rounds. The basically the thing that they're trying to recapture that Jacob has stolen, apparently, because he's ended up stealing the piece that Dom had, that Dom and his team had gotten from Mr. Nobody's plane. He stole that from Dom. And well, it wasn't really he stole it. He showed up in the middle of the fight with the military of this foreign country, and he shows up and scoops it up off the ground. Like, bye. And Letty's like, is that Jacob? And then Dom just looks like, yeah, that's Jacob. Like, he knew the whole time. So obviously there was some shenanigans and some conversating that had to go on with the rest of the team about that, because nobody else knew that Dom had a brother and yada yada. Well, obviously Jacob finds the other half, and they proceed to put a satellite into space so that way this device can connect to the satellite. The device is called Ares. It's basically the God of War. It pretty much, when it'll hack anything. Is basically the way the device was described. So apparently the only way for the device to be used is it has to have a certain individual, which, surprisingly enough, the people who developed it, the two people who created the device, they were killed in a car bomb, and Han was sent by Mr. Nobody to retrieve the item. This is where we find out about Han's deal with Mr. Nobody and everything like that, and how he's presumed dead and everything like that now. Well, in the midst of Han stealing the device, the car blows up, which kills the little girl's parents. The little girl's still there. Han saves her life and basically raises her as his own daughter. Which I thought was kind of touching, the way they did that, especially since he had lost Giselle and everything else. He he played a big role near the end of the film, which was really good. I mean, he ended up driving one of the heavily armored vehicles, and then the financial backer and Cipher ends up getting to him, and he lets her out of her cage. Then he turns on Jacob. Well, should have known that was coming. But, it wasn't something like, oh, wow, he turned. I don't believe it. It wasn't like that for me. I was like, well, what are you going to do? And so then at the end, by the end of the movie, Jacob ends up helping Dom and the team to flip the massive semi. That's who's driving the orange and black car in the trailer, is John Cena's character. While Tej and Roman are up in outer space. Still can't believe they took a friggin' Pontiac Fiero into space. Wow. Really? I guess. And then they obviously, you got 5 seconds left. You got to figure out how to terminate this uplink with the satellite. So they drive the Pontiac Fiero into the satellite, which inevitably just destroys it. And that terminates their uplink. Well, then you're like, okay, so are they alive? Are they dead? Oh yeah, they're alive, all right. Well, they roll up to the door. Well, they float up to the door of the International Space Station, and they're knocking on the door, talking about we're not aliens. And apparently, I'm guessing by the language, the way they were speaking, I'm guessing it was Japanese they were speaking, but you had 2 people standing at the airlock, and they're talking to each other in their language, but they're subtitling it. And the woman says, "Are they minions?" And I about fell out of my chair. Because they look like minions. I didn't even think about it. Their helmets are yellow. They got the big Cyclops eye. It's the stupidest. I'm sorry. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I don't mean to laugh, but it is so funny. To me, I thought that was hilarious. I couldn't help myself. That was good. So obviously they're rescued by NASA. So go figure on that one. I'm pretty sure there was absolutely no explaining that had to be done on that deal. But they got rescued, and then everybody apparently, like, the end of the last few films, apparently they like ending at the Toretto homestead. I mean, I don't understand it. I like it. It's cool. Everybody's there. When I say everybody, I mean everybody. Like, you had Han, you had Sean, you had Twinkie, you had that other dude that I don't know his name. You had everybody that was in the main part of the film. And then, lo and behold, Vin Diesel goes to, or Dom goes to Letty, and he says, tells Brian, hey, are you ready to say grace? Well, Brian, obviously, the young boy, can talk. And Brian's like, yeah, I don't know what to say, though. And then Dom says, just say what's in your heart. And they all gather around the table, and then Dom's like, there's an empty chair. Who are we missing? And then all of a sudden, Mia speaks up and says he's on his way. And then you see this, what looked like a Nissan Skyline. I will be corrected if I'm wrong, and I'm okay with that. But I think it was a Nissan Skyline. You see it pull up into the driveway, and then it fades out. I'm okay with that. That was cool. I mean, it's fine. It really didn't explain where Brian and Mia's kids were, but maybe they're there. Who knows? Maybe they rode with Dad. And then I got up, and I'm thinking, okay, this is the 9th one. They're going to do one more. I'm probably just going to go ahead and roll out, because if I don't, I'm going to pee myself and pee all over the floor. And I didn't want to do that. Being an adult and a man that's still in control of his bowels, I just didn't want to do all that. So that being said, here we are, standing there. And as I'm fixing to walk out of the theater I was in, it actually has steps to go down to go out the door to leave. All of a sudden, you hear this punching sound. and it's cinematic. You can tell that it's the movie screen. So I run back up the stairs, and I stand there and I watch. All of a sudden, you see it. There's a guy boxing a punching bag. He's got his hood up and everything. You don't know what's going on. You're like, what? They're throwing some Rocky Balboa in here? I mean, really, come on. Is Stallone going to show up in the 10th one? I mean, what's the deal? And not Stallone. Ends up being Jason Statham. Pulls the hood down, and you see Jason Statham there, big as life. He unzips a bag. Apparently, he's interrogating someone that's trapped inside a punching bag. Why not? I mean, you know, hey, you gotta do what you gotta do. And then, in the middle of his interrogation, he hears someone knock on the door. He zips the bag back up, gives a swift punch to the face, knocks the person unconscious, apparently. He goes and answers the door, and who's standing on the other side of the door? Han. And I'm like, oh, well, that just got interesting. So, yeah. Even with the spoilery stuff, the funny stuff, I mean, I'm not going to change my critical review of it. It's still going to stay a 7. My movie fans review is still going to be an 8. I mean, I've got to come in. I'm not going to lowball the movies, but at the same time, I've got to be honest about the film. And I really did let a little bit of emotion creep in on both of those scores because of the nostalgic parts of it. You know, I mean, one of the spoilers I didn't mention was the fact that the reason why Jacob, basically, when he was in that race with Dom, is because Dom found out that Jacob was the one that caused their dad's car to basically explode. The guy that Dom killed, yeah, he did the pit maneuver on him. He bumped him in, got him all kinds of squirrely, and put him in the wall. But that still, that was nowhere near what Jacob did. Jacob was the one that did that. And then you obviously find out that Jacob had motivation behind it. He did not know that it was going to cause the car to explode. He just thought it was going to cause the car to slow down and quit and sputter and die because he was trying to help his dad out. And so it was a typical family drama thing. And obviously because Dom didn't know the whole details behind it, yeah, I mean, obviously he was a little salty at his brother because he found out why the car exploded, but didn't know the details behind why Jacob did what he did instead of, you know, finding out or what have you, which I understand. I mean, I get that. But yeah, it was definitely the brotherly confrontations happened throughout the movie on numerous occasions. And you find out that Jacob actually went on to be a spy and everything like that. So he did work hand in hand with Mr. Nobody up until he betrayed him. But that plot thread was pretty good. Jacob is still alive. He kind of drove off into the sunset. And at the end of the movie, you know, when Dom and Jacob parted ways, he sat there and he said that he was given a 10-second car, which gave him a second chance. And he did the same thing. He gave the Charger to Jacob. So, you know, the one he had been driving in the film. So, I mean, it was pretty cool to see that play out the way it did. Like I said, little snippets of love letter to the fans that have been longtime fans of the franchise. You know, it's like, hey, do you remember this? Yeah, I remember that. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. You know, like I said, it's an 8 out of 10 from a moviegoer's perspective. It's going to be a 7 out of 10 on the critical side of it. Some of the shots were awesome. I didn't see nothing that was jacked up other than that Pontiac Fiero. My God. Well, I mean, at least it wasn't a Charger that got sent into space. You know, I mean, I guess I can take that as a win. But anyhow, thank you. I hope you enjoyed this. If I rambled a little bit, then I do apologize. This is my very first one, and as I have to pay attention to the movie, I can't just go watch the movie and enjoy it. I actually have to watch the movie and be critical of certain things and, you know, pay close attention to things that are going to apply to the review. I do hope you enjoyed the movie review for F9, the Fast Saga. It's right there in the lower corner of the screen. Whatever. There are some movies coming out. I will go ahead and throw it out there. There are some movies that I saw in trailers coming that I am, obviously I'm kind of interested in. Snake Eyes, the G.I. Joe Origins movie with Snake Eyes. That movie is looking like it's going to be pretty decent. It's going to be a martial arts film, so that'll be a little bit different. Shouldn't be too far of a stretch. Plus, I might as well watch it, seeing as I'm going to see Shang-Chi when it comes out anyways, and I'll be reviewing that one as well. That's not slated to come out till next year, I believe, or the year after. I think it might even be later this year, but I honestly think it's next year for Shang-Chi. The next film on the docket that I have is going to be Black Widow. That's the next one I'm going to go see. Honestly, there's a movie coming to theaters, to my theater that I go to. There's a movie going to be playing in my theater on the 9th, I think, of June. It's going to start on the 9th. At least I think it's going to run for a week. I'll have to find out. If it does run for a week, there's going to be a movie that I'm going to go see. And I might do a retro review on it. I might. And the only reason I'm going to go see it is because it'll honestly be the first time I ever saw the movie in theaters. And that's Top Gun. The original Top Gun. When they do put the new Top Gun Maverick out, I will be seeing that one as well. Let's see. There's what was it called? Escape Room Champions, or something like that. That looks like it's going to be fairly interesting. I didn't see Escape Room, but the sequel to it looks like it's going to be pretty good. So I might dip my toe in the horror waters and go see what that's about. I said horror, not whore, just in case you were wondering. That one might be something I could take a look at. And I don't know, y'all. I don't know if I'm gonna review. I don't know if I'm gonna review like Sing or any of the animated stuff. I really don't know that. Because I did see a preview for the new Sing 2. I saw the first one. The first one was cute. It was what it was. But as far as that goes, I don't know if I'm going to review Sing 2 or not. Other than that, that's kind of what's looking ahead at this point. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to try to get better with my production of these things, because honestly, this is the first time that I've actually filmed that's been me talking instead of just figuring out gameplay in about a year. So if the video looks a little wonky or doesn't look right or sounds a little weird, then I apologize. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget, like, comment, share, subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Help the channel grow and help encourage me to keep me doing the reviews and everything. We're going to try to get into some trailer reactions. I may end up doing a couple trailer reaction videos this week. I don't know if it's too late to do it or if I should just hold off and keep my eyes out for new trailers that are coming. So we'll play it by ear and see. But thank you guys for watching. I, of course, am James, XG Wolverine, and I'll catch you guys next time on the XG Wolverine Show. Y'all have a good night, everybody.